Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of Methods of Weed Control Part 2. So in this session we are going to study about cultural methods of weed control and mechanical methods of weed control. Okay. So weed control is an important aspect of agriculture and landscaping to prevent the weeds from competing with the desirable plants for resources such as sunlight, water and nutrients. So, why these weeds are so harmful for us? These weeds actually grow with our crop, okay, in our cropland, along with our crops, and they compete the plants, they compete the crops for the sunlight, for the availability of the water, and also for the nutrients. So, there must be a prevention from these weeds. We must prevent our crop from these weeds because it can affect our crop production, right? So it is an important aspect of agricultural as well as landscaping to prevent the weeds from competing with our crop plants or desirable plants. Cultural mechanical methods of the weed control are the sustainable alternatives to the chemicals. So herbicides are the chemicals, right? We can use those herbicides. We can use the biological control method also, right? But why not to use a sustainable alternative method? Sustainable alternative method that we are not disturbing our environment, right? And we are controlling our weeds. So the cultural as well as the mechanical methods of weed, this is a sustainable alternatives to the chemical method in which we use herbicides. These herbicides are chemical based. These are chemical based. So if we are using the cultural and mechanical method, then we are using the sustainable based method. The first thing, crop rotation. If you are follow the crop rotation, then what will happen? Rotating crops in field can help break the weed's life cycle. So the weed that are present in our cropland, they are also having a life cycle. First of all, what will happen? The plant will withstand. It is established when the seed germinate. The seed germinate. Suppose this is a seed of a herb. So it germinate and it give rise to a new plant. And after, what will happen? This plant will bloom. This plant will bloom. That is the blossom stage. Blossom stage. And after then, what happened? There will be fruiting stage of this wheat plant. Fruiting stage. And in this fruit, what is there? Seeds. Seeds will be there. When these seeds are detached from the plant, they fall on the ground and they again germinate and they can give rise to a new plant. So, you know that these weeds are very specific to the crop plant. The weed that are growing with the gram seed, means gram crop, will not grow with the potato crop. They are very crop specific, right? And the one that is growing with the crop will not grow with the pea plant, right? So if you are growing a pea one season in this particular cropland, then do not grow pea again because the seeds will be there present in the soil and they can again grow when the pea will be there. But if you grow some other crop, right? So it will not grow and it will not affect the crop. So crop rotation is very, very important step and we can follow this step. It can break the weed life cycle. So we must rotate our crop in the field. Different crops may have different weeds vulnerabilities. So changing the crop type each season can reduce the weed population. This is the actual reason how the crop rotation is going to affect the weed. Actually, different crops have different weed vulnerabilities. So weeds are very specific and they grow with their they grow along with the crops, right? The potato crop will have a very specific weeds. The sugarcane will have the specific weed. The wheat will have the specific seeds. So once you are growing a wheat plant in this particular land, then next season you can grow some other crop, right? So what will happen? So the changing the crop type each season can reduce the weed population. In this way, this crop rotation is going to help, right? And it can reduce the weed population. Mulching. The second process is the mulching. Applying organic or synthetic mulch material like straw, wood chips, or the plastic sheet to the soil surface can suppress weed growth by blocking the sunlight and preventing weed seeds from germinating. Very, very important points. So sometime what happen? We are preparing our crop land for growing a seed, growing a crop, and some weeds are there. Some weeds are growing. The crop seeds has not yet germinated, right? So at this time, what you can do, you can cover it with the plastic bag. You can cover it with the plastic bag, right? And so this plastic bag will hinder the sunlight, and the sunlight will not be reaching to this weeds that are present there. So what will happen? All these weeds will dry. It will dry up and ultimately dies off, right? So we can also cover it with the mulch material like straw. We can use this straw material. We can use the wood chips, right? And that can get degraded later and become the part of manure, right? So plastic sheet that can use to cover up the soil surface and can suppress the weed growth by blocking the sunlight. So in this way, we can prevent the growth of the weeds. So this is the mulching process. Next, plant density. Planting crops or the ornamental plants at a higher densities can create a canopy that shade the soil and inhibits the weed growth by reducing the available light. So this we can do in the case of the ornamental plant, that we can prepare some canopy, right? And in that case, it do not allow the sunlight to reach to the ground. And at the ground level, whatever the weed are present, they will not have a proper growth, right? So it can inhibit the weed growth by reducing the available sunlight. So in this way, this plant density, so we are managing what? We are managing the density of the plant, right? So this plant density is actually causing the control over the weed growth. Proper irrigation. Next method is the proper irrigation. Efficient irrigation system that deliver water directly to the plant roots while avoiding wetting the surrounding soil can discourage the weed growth, as many weeds thrive in constantly moist soil. This is, I think, one of the best method, because suppose we are growing crop like this. Our crops are growing at a distance. Like I'm just drawing the 3 crops just to show. And we are having a pipeline like this. And from this pipe, we are having a small hole that drop by drop water is getting to this particular, reaching to this root. Here also. And here also. We are not giving water to the whole field. So this is called drip irrigation method. Drip irrigation method. Right? So we are irrigating our crop, but we are not allowing this space to get wet. and that discourage the growth of weeds, right? So the efficient in irrigation system that deliver water directly to the plant roots. So this drip irrigation method is giving water directly to the plant roots while avoiding the wetting of the surrounding soil. So these surrounding soils are not getting wet, right? And this can discourage the growth of the weed. So as many weeds thrive in the constantly moist soil, because for the growth of the weeds, there must be required the moist soil, and we are not moistening the whole soil. So there will be no weeds in that ways. Fifth, fertilizer management. Using controlled release fertilizers and nutrient management can help promote the strong, healthy crops that out compete weeds for the nutrients, right? So we can use the controlled release fertilizer. We are not using fertilizer in such a way that it can also enhance the growth of the weeds, right? So it should be in a very controlled manner, the use of fertilizer, right? And the nutrient management can help to promote the strong, healthy crops, but they will discourage the weeds. Timing of planting. Planting crop at the right time of the year can take advantage of the favorable environmental condition and allowing the desired plant to outcompete with the weeds. If there is a competition also with the weeds, who will win? Our crop plants. Why? Because we have taken care the time of sowing the crop plants, right? So this can take the advantage of the favorable environmental condition, because at that particular time the environmental condition is very favorable for the growth of the cropland, right? So it can compete with the weeds in a better way. Okay, so mechanical method of weed control. Hand weeding. Manual removal of weeds by the pulling, digging or hoeing is one of the most labor intensive but effective method. Yes, it is quite a labor, but I am sure this is the most effective methods to have a control over the weed. It's commonly used in the smaller gardens and for the precision weed control. Yes, we generally do in our garden, even in the kitchen garden. And if you are having a small piece of cropland, then also you can go for this hand weeding. Mowing and cutting. Regular mowing or cutting of grassy weeds can prevent them from producing seeds and can weaken their root system over a time. So whenever you see this growing of the weeds, we can cut those or move these grassy weeds, and this can reduce it. Do not allow the blooms, the grasses, and do not getting setup of the seeds, and do not letting the setup of the seeds. So it can weaken their root system over a time, and it basically discourage the growth of the weeds. Tilling and cultivation. Mechanical tillage such as plowing and harrowing disrupts the weed growth by burying weed seeds, uprooting weeds and exposing them to the elements. So mechanical tillage is there. We can take out hand pulling such as plowing or harrowing or disrupt the weed growth by burying weed seeds, uprooting weeds and exposing them to the elements. This we can do to get rid of. This is also one of the mechanical method, and it is generally done. Flame weeding. Using propane torches or specialized equipment to apply flames to the weeds can kill them by heat induced cell damage. So it is effective for the broadleaf weeds in the areas where the open flames can be safely used. So this flame weeding is also nowadays we can use. Mechanical weeders. There are various mechanical weeding machines designed to remove the weeds between the rows of crop in the large field. So we are having nowadays mechanical weeding machines. We can use these machines to remove the weeds. So if we are growing crop, suppose this is the land we can move, and we are growing crops in like this, right? So we can move along this row, and we can, with the help of this mechanical weeding machine, we can remove all the weeds from this side, right? So these machines can use tool like rotating brushes, finger weeds, or harrow to uproot out or cut the weeds, right? So these machines are having some brushes that can cut the weeds, finger weeders that can also cut the weeds, or harrow to uproot the cut weeds. Herbicide-free weed barriers. Installing landscape fabric or the geotextile barriers in the garden or under mulch that can effectively suppress the weeds growing by blocking the light and preventing the weed prevention. So we can use some fabric material, that is geotextile, that do not allow, right? That can block the light and do not allow the light to reach to the weeds. And in that way, weed can dries off and it can die. Biological control. In some cases, introducing some of the natural predators or the herbivores that feed on the specific weed species can help to control weed population. Yes, there are so many. There are fungus, there are bacteria, right? That can be used. They are sprayed on the weeds and they can disrupt the weed growth by altering the enzyme, by altering the hormone cascade system, right? So these are called as the biological method. So in some cases, introducing the natural predators or the herbivores, we can introduce the herbivores. They can feed on the specific weed species and we can help to control the weed population in that way also. So this approach is more commonly used in the natural or conservation areas. Cultural and mechanical weed control method can be integrated into the broader weed management strategy. Yes, these are some of the management that can be used in the weed management strategy that is used in a broader way, right? And by combining these techniques, farmers and the gardeners can reduce their reliance on chemical herbicides to maintain the healthier, more sustainable landscape and agricultural system. So it is not altering our crop, it is not altering our soil, right? So this can be used for the sustainable landscape and agricultural system development, right? So these are the two methods we have started in this session, that is cultural and mechanical method. So that is very, very important, right? So this is all about this session. We will have one more session to complete this methods of weed control. Till then, thank you very much.